Who ordered the Seraphim? Once a Seraphim has been given an order, they can't stop unless A. the order is revoked by the person who initially gave it, or B. the order is revoked by someone higher on the authority hierarchy. As Vegapunk Shaka orders the Seraphim to stop attacking them, and they don't, this must mean the traitor is either A. Vegapunk, not Shaka, or B. a Gorosei member. The traitor isn't a Vegapunk as the motivation isn't there for any of the Vegapunks to try to kill themselves, and the silhouette, albeit vague, doesn't look like any of them. The Seraphim have to be ordered to directly, not over communications, and the Vegapunks have nearly all been constantly in view, and while it's true one of them could have quickly snuck off to a different part of the building between scenes in order to order the Seraphim, it seems unlikely. The traitor isn't Saturn, as the first act of sabotage, the barrier going down, happened before he was even seen travelling to Egghead. Kizaru was there for a prior mission, and Saturn is with Kizaru, so Saturn was also coming for the prior mission. He wouldn't have been able to get there faster than Kizaru, who can also move at the speed of light, and you'd think in-universe someone would have noticed a bunch of ships arriving. Also, Oda would probably want to have squeezed more hype out of Kizaru/Saturn's official arrival. The traitor isn't one of the other four Gorosei, as narratively that would make Saturn's arrival and the hype around it pointless, as the Gorosei are all basically the same character/have the same level of importance. Therefore, by process of elimination, the traitor is Imu. The same excuse I made for the other Gorosei doesn't apply, as Imu is clearly their own thing, their own character, their own level of importance that is a step above Saturn. Imu is not an equal level of strength/importance like the other Gorosei are, they are a step above. It would be an escalation in conflict. However, Imu would be included on the Gorosei rank too, as if anything they are in a higher position of authority. But is there anything else? Yes, actually quite a lot. The traitor must be working for the world government, as the only place anywhere on the authority hierarchy that can control the Seraphim are world government affiliated. The Seraphim's mission is to, quote, kill everyone here. This includes Vegapunk, something the world government initially tried to do with CP0, and after CP0 failed, they upped the effort. It also includes the Straw Hats, a huge threat to the world government. And also it includes CP0, the only named characters of which consist of Stussy, who has now portrayed the world government, and Lucci, Kaku, and Hattori, who were going against the world government in the cover story pre-timeskip. We don't know why the world government let them unspend and become Cypherpol agents again, however maybe it's because they plan to keep track of them for a time, and then finish them off in a suicidal mission like this anyway. After all, did they honestly think CP0 would be enough to kill Vegapunk and all his tech? No, they were planned to fail, so that the real traitor could come in and finish them all off. Point being, Imu is obviously affiliated with the world government. The dark featureless silhouette with only eyes visible in 1075 is obviously how Imu has been depicted so far. Obviously it's not one-to-one, but that's the point of it being a silhouette. The only thing the traitor is actively doing themselves, not through the Seraphim or Vegapunk's tech, but themselves, is anything involving staying hidden. Destroying the cameras, blowing up Pythagoras when he turns to look at them, seems the secret king of the world is really trying to remain secret. We know the person who blew up Pythagoras isn't a Seraphim, as their explosion looks completely different to how the Seraphim's laser explosions are always drawn. Therefore, it's probably the traitor. The Kotok sound effect of the traitor walking is the same Kotok used by Imu in chapters 906 and 8. Sure, it may just be the sound of someone walking, but it's not even like it's that common of a sound. I've reread a significant chunk of the story since 1074, actively looking for the sound, and didn't see it once. And when it's one of the only signs of Imu we have to go off, it looks even more sus. The way Pythagoras turns around to look at Imu before getting blown up is similar to how Sabo saw Imu before shortly getting blown up himself. The parallels of Pythagoras turning round and Sabo looking at the incoming destruction of Lelucia are kinda similar too. Pythagoras in 1075 says the nature of the traitor is impossible to grasp and that their eyes can't be mistaken, as if they are shocked beyond belief that it could truly be the person it is, which makes sense for someone as important as Imu, who Pythagoras probably thought would never leave Marijua. Oda's made a point multiple times about how they can't detect anyone abnormal in the lab. If Imu isn't considered a person that exists on any database, that would explain it. When Shaka asked the Seraphim who ordered them, a separate order that isn't overriding any other, the Seraphim have the ... which could mean the original person ordered them to not tell anyone who they are, which still works. However, a more interesting angle is that they are allowed to tell Shaka, but literally unable to, because they don't know the name of the person ordering them, as it doesn't exist on any database, as I expect Imu, much like Joy Boy or Poseidon, is less their real name and more of a title/epithet. Finally, the Seraphim registering orders from Imu means Vegapunk would have to know about Imu to program that in, hence why they want him dead just after the Seraphim are completed. It's been said how the Seraphim are the pinnacle of what Vegapunk can do in terms of weapons. After the Seraphim, they don't need him anymore, which is why the world government let him know about Imu to program them in, and now that his usefulness has expired, they plan to do away with him. If the traitor is Imu, that means Vegapunk Pythagoras knows who they are, which in turn works to support the idea that the traitor is Imu, as it further builds upon the idea that I've just mentioned. Doesn't the existence of the missing Cypherpol agents disprove this idea, considering this has been going on within Egghead for months? No. I believe the person kidnapping these agents under Vegapunk's nose is not the traitor on the island right now. I believe it's Shaka, or a combination of Shaka and Lilith, using the sea beasts, doing it to keep Vegapunk Stella safe, as that was established to be Shaka's primary goal in 1071. We know Shaka somehow foresaw Vegapunk's death. We know the world government initially tried using Cypherpol to kill Vegapunk, so it's likely that Shaka just foresaw Cypherpol killing Vegapunk and tried to avoid that outcome by kidnapping any nearby Cypherpol ships on the possibility it could be them. The decision to specifically keep them alive despite the fact they're no practical use alive could be reflective of Shaka's nature as the good. If Shaka and Lilith are co-conspirators on this, then that would explain Lilith's constant annoyance of Shaka for being so good, as she knows about the Cypherpol agents and just wants them dead to avoid risk. In 1056, Luffy drew the short straw out of him, Law and Kid in terms of what island he would go to next, as he unluckily picked the island furthest from Laugh-Tale. However, it seems like he was actually the most lucky, as Law's path crossed in with Blackbeard and Kid's path crossed in with Shanks to Yonko, and yet Luffy had to deal with Lucci? Well, what if it turned out Luffy actually did get the worst luck of all the three, because he got the worst opponent out of any of them? While Law and Kid both had to confront Yonko, Luffy would have to confront the King of the World. Assuming IMU is the final villain of the series, that means they would have to be the most powerful, as by the time Luffy fights them they would already have to have proven themselves stronger than Blackbeard and Shanks in one way or another. Luffy did actually get the worst luck out of the three. He had to confront the most powerful person in the series, even more powerful than Blackbeard or Shanks. I've always felt like Luffy and IMU should have a personal conflict even before Luffy learns who they are at Laugh-Tale and then confronts them in the final war. This would be the perfect place to establish the two's antagonistic relationship, and it would make sense if this is the case, why Oda would spend such a large chunk of the 3 years until the series ends on Egghead Island, as it's literally establishing the personal conflict between Luffy and the series' ultimate antagonist. It would also just be a really cool formal introduction for IMU. Imagine IMU, the secret king of the entire world and most powerful person in the series, willingly choosing to, instead of directly fight people one-on-one, skulk away in the shadows and hide, knowing full well that they could fight seriously if they wanted to, but they're just that committed to staying in the shadows. Imagine the potential oh shit moment when we get the reveal, and this arc goes from a mildly intriguing side adventure before shit gets real to oh fuck, we're all gonna die. In case you think it's a stretch that IMU would come out of Marija, we've just had a Gorosei do the exact same thing 4 chapters ago. If Oda is willing to do that, then